Recording in.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rewind and Reflect, where we believe in the universal law that there's no such thing as coincidences or mistakes, and we are here to share our stories of life with you. My name's Deb Miller.
Hi, I'm Susan Doyle. Hi,
Hello,
Deb.
hello, hello.
First of all, for those of you who watch us on YouTube, you do not know how much joy it brings me to see your fuzzy pencil because it reminds me.
I love it.
I know you use it to hold your very heavy head up, but I brings me right back to seventh grade. What also brings me back to seventh grade, and if you pull one out of your desk right now, I may wet my pants with laughter. But do you remember those pens that had like all the inks? And you would push down and one would be red.
I do have one of those somewhere, for sure. I mean, let me just show you. This is just one of my bags.
Oh my God. Do you have a trapper keeper too?
I would. I should get one. This is just one bag of pens. I've got pens everywhere.
Yeah, I do like a good pen drawer. I do like a good variety. Depends how I want to, it feels. And sometimes I'm in a blue ink mood and sometimes in a black ink mood. And you know the drill.
Yes.
But
what I
oh my
did
God.
find at a store once was, do you remember the lip smackers? Okay.
Yes.
And it had like a metal ball on the end and it tasted like,
Oh my God, with the liquid?
yes, the liquid, and it was clear, but then the name of it was on it. I can't remember what it was, but it was, yeah, I did find one of those and bought it.
Oh my God.
Can't find it now.
This just popped into my head like I'm pulling this so out of my ass. Do you remember Bonnie Bell?
Of course, Bonnie
And
Bell.
what was that?
Was Bonnie Bell the really thick one?
Yeah, it was like the lip stuff that was like this big
Mm.
around. Yeah. Oh my God. Um, and
Oh,
then that perfume that was like pink and it smelled kind of like powder.
oh
Not
my.
Gina Tay. Do you remember Gina Tay?
Oh, no, I know. I do remember Gina Tay. That was always gross. The powdery pink one.
It was like baby
Baby
something.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh God, I can see it
Yeah.
in your bedroom.
Oh, did I have that stuff?
I think so. I think we both had it.
Yeah.
So just for the audience, I have to say this and then, we can get to what we want to talk about today. But I sent you this thing on social media that we are put the tip of your eyeliner pencil in a flame old. Do you remember having to take the lighter and like make the tip of the eyeliner like soft
Absolutely.
and so it would go on like really thick? Do you remember that?
I sure do. And I also remember putting my hair on an actual ironing board and ironing it straight. Do you remember that? Yeah. So we kind of invented hair irons before
Yeah.
hair
Yeah,
strips.
before it was a thing. Had
Yeah.
we known that we just needed to put two irons together to make a flat iron, we could be like sitting in Tahiti somewhere, in
Yeah.
a grass hut for the rest of our lives.
Oh, funny.
So, I want to tell the audience that Deb and I have really been talking a lot about the concept of change. And, clearly we have changed out of the I think it was baby soft perfume and like
Yes.
putting a lighter on our eyeliner, which neither one of us, I think, wear makeup any longer. Or I know about me, but I don't use Aquanet or Final Net anymore in my
No,
hair.
no.
And so, we've been talking a lot about change. I wanted to let everybody know that I decided that I needed to change in my day-to-day work environment. And I put myself out there and, um, oh my goodness, sent my resume to an internal position in a something that I've like just was going for it. It's in the marketing department, and I've never done that before. I've always been, very much in my lane in regards to fitness and health and wellness and a little bit of sale, dip my toe into sales, and I got a new job. Yay.
So awesome.
So, yeah, so same company. I'm still working remote, but it's one of those things that, it was a little scary
Yeah,
to put myself out there, and but I knew that I needed and wanted to change and wanted to be challenged, and I went for it.
that's
So,
so,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I'm
And,
psyched.
you know, it's really hard to make a change. It's hard when you're familiar, even though you're bored, you know the routine, you know the job, you know the position, you know what's expected of you, and it's sometimes just easier to stay because you do, whether you're applying for a new job with a new company or what one within your company, you still are putting yourself out there. You have to go through the interview process. And, sometimes, most times, you might not get that job offer, goes to
Right.
somebody else, and then you have to deal with, your ego and all of that. So
Yeah,
we tend to not make a change that ultimately is going to be better for us just because out of fear. And
right. And so, like everything else, it's a choice. You have to make a choice to change. I mean, there's things that obviously the weather, or, we were talking about when you're driving down the street and you come to a roadblock or construction and you have to change direction. I mean, these types of things really are not a choice. And sometimes, I don't know about you, but I sometimes resist the change that was not my choice.
because you weren't in
It's like,
control of
well,
it. Yeah, you weren't in control.
correct. Right, but we're really not in control of anything,
No. And
you know.
I challenge everybody to look at it like the choices that are not in our control, those are the ones that we really have to let go of control of, because that is the universe putting us on our path that we're meant to be on. And
Completely agree.
yeah, and if you didn't get the job, that just was not part of the plan,
Correct.
but you did,
Correct.
so that is, and
Yeah. Um, so when we were talking a little bit before we turned the cameras on, I had asked you, but I didn't want you to answer me, but I kind of wanted you to know that it was coming. So, do you remember the time that you decided to make the choice to change the behavior that was coming out of your addiction, the behavior that was manifesting from your addiction? Do you remember that moment when you made that choice to change?
Yes, I do. I would have never chosen to give up the drugs on my own because I was under the impression that as long as I could get my hands on them and do and have them in my system and take the drugs, I would live a perfectly fine life. Just leave me alone, I can
Mm-hmm.
handle whatever comes my way. Just let me take these, and but that obviously didn't work because the addiction is a disease and it's progressive. So one pill now did nothing for me and neither did 30 a day. I was just getting worse and worse and worse, needing more and more and more, going more and more broke. The decision to step out of that lifestyle was made when I was in rehab. And I went through the an awful detox like everybody does when they're withdrawing from opioids, and I remember kind of coming out of a fog for once and saying, "Oh my God, I have not taken anything for 3 days. Like I had 3 days under my belt of not using. And I thought,
And how long had it been since you had gone 3 days? Like without taking it, like years?
years, yeah, a couple years. Yeah. And I remember thinking, now I've got some momentum. Like I still felt like shit, but I was in a rehab center. And then the next day, like I can't, because you're in and out of sleeping and vomiting and diarrhea and just
Mm.
chills and fevers and all this stuff. And then, so all of a sudden, 5 days had passed and they were ready. They were like, okay, we're getting you out of detox and bringing you up to the program. And I remember thinking, all right, I've got 5 days of no drug use. And I don't ever want to feel this sick again. So I am never turning back. Like that was it for me. I was able to,
That was your choice, like right then.
yeah,
You chose to change.
I chose to change. I chose to, yeah, I chose to turn to recovery and to do everything I could to maintain a life in recovery. Because I knew,
It
yeah,
with
I just, 5 days of not using was like a
a
miracle.
lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a miracle because I couldn't get through a half hour without taking something. So 5 days was like, whoa. And I just knew that now, okay, now I know every single day I'm going to be feeling better. Every single day is going to get better. And just keep moving forward, keep moving forward, keep moving forward. And that's what I did.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how scary was that choice for you? How
Um,
scary was the change?
it was very scary because I knew that now I had to confront everybody and everything that I had been denying, lying,
Mm.
and denying to. So I was like, all right, now I know I'm going to have to clean up a lot of messes and I'm going to have to humble myself and say, you were right. I was in trouble. And, you know, here's the money I stole from you or whatever, like, yeah, you really
Yeah.
gotta take that inventory and say, this is what I did to you and really just make yourself vulnerable. And that is so scary, but that's what it takes to make that major change in your life.
I also think too, the choice, it's interesting. So, we've talked a lot about addiction and you and I offline and online, and I mean, we've barely scratched the surface, but you know, there are people or, there are people that still believe that, you can just stop, right? You can just stop and whatever. Or why doesn't this person stop for me? Or I've told them they need to change. And so, I am a firm believer, regardless of whether it's addiction or any other type of change, nobody can make that choice for you in the sense that nobody can say, you know what, you need to change because you're a dick or you're angry or you're overweight or you're sloppy when you drink or you're addicted to these pills, and nobody can make that choice for you. And I've seen it too, like I don't even think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that, the threat of jail, you still had to, that judge was giving you a choice, like a choice, you made the choice to go into rehab. Then you had to make the choice to do the work. You went into rehab to avoid doing something else, right?
Yes, 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 yes. So the judge said to me, you better get yourself into rehab. I want to see you here in three months, and I want that under your belt. And I didn't do it. I continued to use. And here's the kicker. I was going to lose my child.
Mm,
So jail, meh. I losing your kid, meh. It's so powerful.
hmm
You talk yourself into being like and I said this many times, he'll be better off without me because I can't be a good mom if I don't have this substance in me. I won't be a good mom to him, so he's better off without me. Whether I took my life or whether I went to jail or whether I continued on with my addiction and ended up God knows where. But this addiction and alcoholism is so much more powerful than the person that it is attacking. So
hmm
you can't love it out of somebody.
Correct.
You cannot love it out of somebody. I have people that love me that would have given their life for me. And it just, it didn't matter because it's so incredibly powerful. So what needed to be done was the judge, the threat of jail. Nope, nope, nope. I literally ran out of ways to get my hands on the pills and I ran out of money. And I then surrendered and said, all right, I guess I'm going to do this. But if I didn't, I would have ended up in jail. And I went into rehab. And it was then that, okay, so the choice was difficult. I was kicking and screaming. I did not want to do it. Then the change came where, okay, I'm in it. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to move forward with it. And then the freedom came. It was freedom. It was like, not only did I not care about getting in front of people and saying, I'm an addict, I'm sorry about what I did to you. I was like, thank God I know that I have a disease and I am fighting it. And it's not a moral thing. It's not because I don't have the willpower to stop because that's what we all beat ourselves up about. People saying, just stop. If you loved me, you would just stop. And you're like, okay, but I can't. You can't.
Right.
And
Right.
and so you see the destruction that it's doing to everybody around you, but you cannot stop because it is a disease. And it's like, and people get pissed when I say this, but I don't care. It's like telling your body not to have diabetes
Right.
because they're like, well, that can't, that's a medical thing and it's fine. But the
But
way
it's not. I mean, yes, I mean, but
sometimes it is.
I sometimes it is,
Yeah.
but
If
I also believe that I am a firm believer that people are born with whether it's an actual gene of addiction or a tendency towards it, that the minute that switch is flipped,
yeah,
whatever it is, it doesn't have to be opioids. It could
yeah,
be exercise like me, or
it'd be
not
food.
eating,
Yeah,
or
right.
yeah, you
Absolutely.
know, overeating and undereating they're both an addiction. It's just the
Yeah.
conversation. Even the conversation's the same. It just manifests differently. The minute that is, and I do believe that people are born with, people call it an addictive personality. I don't know if it's a personality
It's a
because I'm not
propensity.
addicted to other things. You know what I mean? I think it's just this tendency. I think you're born with some sort of chemistry
It is
that tends
absolutely
you
a
towards
chemistry.
that,
Absolutely a chemistry. Absolutely.
you know?
Yes.
Um,
And it's true. You are born with it.
Yeah. And it is a wild, wild debate still to this day.
Well, and the best way to understand it is think of it like it's an allergy. We
Hmm
who are alcoholics and addicts have an allergy to certain chemicals. And when we partake in those, drink them, pop them, shoot them up, whatever you're going to do, snort them, the chemistry in your body reacts to it. And instead of like reacting in an allergy with like hives or something, it's a switch that creates this incredible um, drive to get more and more and more and more and more. And
Hmm.
but like with any other disease, so back to my thing. So I if I knew then earlier that the recovery process and the change, choosing that change would be, it would take some work, but it would be so worth it in so many
Right.
ways. And the forgiveness of people, like people forgiving me and just saying, I don't care what you did, just keep on living this life. Like, don't go backwards. And my ability to understand human nature and understand other people and not be judgmental anymore. It just changed me in the most wonderful ways. And that was my addiction. I mean, let alone the other changes that have come in my life since making that choice, and just like with you, opening a door to a new position, a new career, in marketing, which is
Right.
amazing. You're going to do so great in that. I just know it. Um, the other doors that are and avenues that are going to be open to you.
Right.
You're
Right.
like, why did I wait so long?
Right. And
Why did I wait?
there's also a level of chance, like we've talked about faith. There's also this level of chance that you make the choice, but you're also taking a huge leap of faith or a chance that it may not work out. Like the change may not be positive,
Right.
so there's this element of like what we said a few weeks ago of taking the first step but not seeing the first stair, taking walking the staircase but not seeing the first step or something like
Yeah.
that. That you decide you're making this choice, but there is a chance that either the change that you think you want or you think you need is not really going to, it may not work out.
Right. Right.
Like
And
you
that
may
and
have at some point backpedaled a couple of steps to then have to make the same choice again to keep going forward. I be, I, when I decided that my lifestyle, my over exercising and under eating was going to render me sick at some point, there was a chance that I wouldn't feel better if I made these changes. There was so I chose to take a chance to then change
yeah.
and really hope that the change was what I was looking for or what I
Hmm.
needed or what the universe was telling me that I needed.
So, right. And here's the other thing. Even if we make a choice and it's not the right one, it's okay.
You can make another one
You can make another one. And
and another one and another one and another one.
exactly. So we're trying to get to in our life cycle, we are trying to get to the place that we have pre-planned before we came to this earth. And we will
Hmm.
always get there. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than others because we have made detours, but those detours were necessary for our growth and for our
Agreed.
understanding and for our purpose. So they're never mistakes, just like there's never coincidences. There's never mistakes.
I love the term detour rather than the wrong road
Yeah,
because
we
there's
don't
no
do that.
road that is wrong.
Right.
But you do make these detours. I sometimes call them speed bumps. Sometimes you go over some speed bumps.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go over several
Yeah.
speed bumps all in a row.
Boom, 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 boom.
Um, right, but it is a necessary part of the path, whether it is reinforcing that your choice was correct,
Yeah,
or it's telling you that you may want to rethink the choice because you're not going in the right direction.
that's right. That's right. But making choices and making changes in our lives is so necessary. And it's meant to bring us to who we truly are. And,
Hmm.
probably the scariest choice I ever made was leaving the comfort of a job with a company. That,
Yes, so I want to talk about that because when I was making this change, I remember us having a conversation, or I was taking a chance to make this change. And I remember us having a conversation where you said I kept looking for these jobs and they weren't happening, and then, you took a step back, you took a breath, and you made a different
yeah,
choice.
I, um, yes. And so I left a job that I was in for 17 years to go to another position, another job with another company.
Hmm.
And again, no mistakes. It was meant to be. I was ready to move on from my other job. This was more of an executive position, which I'd never had before. I learned a lot. Um, but when that company went under, I was faced with finding another position. And every time I would get online and I would read the job description, which was exactly what I had been doing, I would be like, oh, I just was like, nothing about this appeals to me. I just was so stuck. And then I finally thought to myself, and with the help of Kevin, like, what is it that is going to fill my soul and my spirit? And then I decided not to go back into the corporate world and kind of start my own little thing. And it is scary because it's change. It is scary because the paychecks are like, I don't get paid vacation anymore and just perks
Hmm.
like that. Um, but the benefit of what I have learned, who I have met, people that I've been able to help through the nonprofit sector, the freedom and flexibility I have completely outweighs all of the other things that the
Right.
perks and benefits that I've gotten. That was the hardest decision I've ever made. I am a creature of comfort, and I like to know how my week is planned, how much is going to be in the paycheck. Like that security means a lot to me. And
Yeah.
I was going from that to like complete unknown. But I took that chance, and I kept saying to myself, now I'm like, why did I wait so long?
Right.
Why did I wait
Yeah.
so long? But
Yeah.
that's how what I needed to go and what I needed to learn and where I needed to be. And and that's the beauty of it. If it didn't work out for me, I would apply for more jobs and just try to get something.
Yeah, so like what I have a tendency to say to myself, um, and even like my kids too, what's the worst that could happen? And I don't necessarily answer the question. Like I am not one of those people that lists all the bad things that could happen with
Yeah,
like this
right.
one decision. It's more like it the question to myself or this is A, rhetorical, and B, is just a reminder to myself that there's no wrong
Choice.
choices.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is, you go back, or you say, okay, I this is not the environment for me, or this is not the marriage for me, or this whatever. And I think one of the hardest decisions I made was terminating my marriage.
Mhm.
And I remember very clearly, I was always threatening to leave, blah, 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 blah. And I never like really did anything. And then I remember that one day where I'm like, I'm doing this now. But I also remember for several, I would say several weeks, if not a few months, like questioning myself, like, did I make the right choice? Like, did I choose the right way? Did I choose, and then I got quiet. I'm a firm believer that I need to be quiet. I need to quiet my mind and really basically said to myself, what's the worst that could happen? Because
Mm,
I didn't like where I was or who I was, right? Didn't like who I was becoming or who I had become. What's the worst that could happen? I stay the same. Then I
right.
know it's like completely, right? That's the worst thing that could happen was I would stay the same.
Yeah. And that is not what our creator, not what the universe, not what spirit wants us to do. It's not. We are not supposed to stay the same. We're supposed to evolve throughout our lifetime, allow these different opportunities and these different situations to happen that will reveal where where our real purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure 3 months after you had, the divorce is final and you had moved out, you felt like, why did I wait so long?
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely
It's all
100%.
fear. We are just so fearful of change and uh, we're so fearful. What I have found that is if you make a change and it wasn't meant for your destiny, then you are going to see signs all around you as far as
Mm-hmm.
um things are going to not be smooth and easy. The transition will not be smooth and easy if it's not meant to be. And that's when you put the brakes on and say, okay, this is not what is meant to be happening. So let's look at a different solution. Um, or if it just takes you and you flow with it and everything happens, you're
Yep.
exactly where you're supposed to be.
When I'm in class, my teacher, my yoga class, my teacher says, he'll give us a cue to, do X, Y, and Z. And he will say, and this always lands so hard with me, he'll just simply say, if not now, when?
Yeah.
And then he'll follow it up by saying, if it's not you, then who?
Yeah.
Like, why do you feel, it goes back to, you would tell a friend to go for it, right? Why wouldn't you tell yourself?
That's right.
If it's not you, then who's it going to be? And why does it have to be that person and not you?
Right. Yeah, that's so true. And if it doesn't work out that it's not you, then it wasn't meant to be. And
Correct.
something better is coming.
Correct. Yeah, I remember reading something a long time ago that, resonated with me, and it was called The Three C's of Life.
Mhm.
Choices, chances, and change. And you must make a choice to take a chance
Yeah,
for your life to change.
change. Yeah.
And,
Well, is that?
it's what?
It's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. And then I'm going to follow it up with, if it's not you that are practicing the three C's, then who's it going to be?
Mhm.
And if it's not now, then when? Like, why are you putting why are you putting a timestamp on it? If it's good enough to do next month or next year, or here's a great one. When my kids are this age, or when I'm this age, or when I get this much money, you know, why not right now?
Right, right.
You
And
know?
another thing that I often do is when I'm faced with a tough decision, I do look at it like, okay, if my child was in this position, what would I tell him to do? And why is
Yes.
it why is that okay for him, but not for me? Why am I not doing it for myself when I know it's the right thing to do? And I would never allow this situation to happen to my child.
And then and then taking it one step further is what an amazing blueprint as a parent to
Mm,
still continue to make these choices and make changes and be ever evolving till the day that we die, not just, well, I'm 60, so it's enough. I'm
yeah.
60, I'm not going to change. Or I'm 70, I'm not going to change. By the way, I'm not 60 yet. Or something like, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, that's a cop out. That's a cop
it's a
out.
total cop out. It's a total cop out. And I can't tell you how many times I have had life conversations with my kids where I'm like, if you don't like the choice, just turn around and do something else. Like you're not stuck. You are not stuck. You are not stuck.
Mhm. And you also have a lot of help around you that you don't even realize.
Hmm.
It, you've got spirit with you, you've got your guardians, everybody is directing you where the right place is. And even if it's the wrong place, you're still safe and it's okay. But you are not meant to be stagnant in this lifetime. And the only
Agreed.
reason we stay still is because we're fearful of change. And there's no
Yes.
reason to fear change.
Yes.
Embrace it.
Yeah. I mean, embrace it. Let's just, leave everybody with, practice the three C's: choice, chance, change. If not now, when? And if it's not you, then who?
I love it.
All right, my dear. We will talk next week.
Yeah. More on this or whatever else anybody wants to share with us.
Yes, please reach out. I do have to give a huge shout out of gratitude for the folks in my life that have approached me, who have listened and are getting something out of it. And there's people that reach out, whether it's in person or via text or on social media, that just say, I've been listening to your podcast and thank you for reminding me, or it has, prompted me to go back to whatever made them feel good. And, um, it feels good. I'm very grateful for the people who do not hold back and say thank you. So I thank them.
Amen. Oh, one other thing before we go. So last week we had our special guest on. And
Hmm.
for those of you who did not see it, talk about making a major change in your life. If you have not seen our interview with Kristen Bennett, please watch it because it's gonna change your life.
Brought me to tears.
Yeah,
She's amazing.
she's amazing. And she drastically made the decision to change
Hmm.
her life and has done it and has had many, many blessings because of it.
And
So
continues to do it, which is, she continues to choose change. There's more. There's something better for me out there. And it's remarkable. Her story is remarkable.
yeah, it really is. So, all right, until
All
next
right,
week,
sweetie. Yes, love you.
everybody.
Namaste, everyone.